Cold concrete presses against my back. Every fiber of my being is screaming to run, but I can't move. I can only hold my breath, praying this darkness is thick enough to hide me. That sound, it's getting closer. I swear, I can smell it. The smell of damp earth and something long dead. I remember how I ended up here. The scrawl from Miss Lucy. It all started 3 days ago. My boyfriend, Ethan, was the kind of guy you see in movies. Charismatic, classy. Every word he said made my heart flutter with admiration. He was always dependable, the man who made me feel safe. On his wrist, a worn leather bracelet was always tied. One he said brought good luck, a bracelet he never took off. Honestly, I was hoping this crazy adventure would be our last story as just a couple, because I was hoping that after this, he would propose to me. That night at my place, Ethan excitedly spread an old map across the table. "I found it," Ethan said. "A Cold War bunker, the Sump. It's now a black market for stolen artifacts, and inside, there's a pre-colonial bronze statue. Priceless." He continued, "We're going there to get that statue." I saw it as our romantic adventure. I, of course, immediately agreed. Bard was there, our friend. He paid no attention at all. He was busy trying to balance 5 sugar cubes on a spoon. That's Bard. Useless in a serious situation. "Let's bring Bard along," Ethan said, "so we have someone to help carry the gear." Bard, whose sugar tower had just collapsed, just looked at us, confused. "Cool. Is there Wi-Fi down there?" he asked. Ethan just sighed. We decided that night that we would prepare all the equipment and supplies. The next day, we set out. Ethan was the leader of this expedition. The entrance was an old manhole in the St. Jude's Ward district. The smell of damp earth, fungus, and a strange scent like ozone immediately hit us. As the steel lid slammed shut above us, we were trapped in a thick silence. "Relax, I know the way," Ethan said, shining his flashlight onto the map. We followed him through tunnels that felt like the earth's intestines, damp and suffocating. After walking for nearly an hour, we hit a dead end. Ethan's map was wrong. Panic began to creep in. We were lost. "This can't be right," Ethan snarled, more angry at the map than at himself. "There has to be another way." He started pacing anxiously, shining his light in every direction. But Bard wasn't panicking at all. He actually looked bored. He was shining his flashlight on the damp wall, following a strange insect. Suddenly he stopped and let out a little laugh. "Whoa, guys, check this out," he said, his voice way too cheerful for the situation. "This rock looks exactly like a potato chip. A really big one, too. Cool." Ethan stopped and stared at Bard in disbelief. "Bard, we're lost, you idiot. Who cares about a damn potato chip rock?" he snapped. That's when a shadow emerged from the darkness behind us. Not a creature, but a middle-aged man with a face full of thin scars. He just stood there, observing us. He looked at the rock illuminated by Bard's flashlight, then looked at us. "A rock is a part of nature," he said, his voice as coarse as gravel. "Its shape is a face, and behind the face, there is a soul." Ethan immediately went on guard, pushing me behind him. "Who are you?" he demanded. The man didn't answer Ethan. He just spat on the ground. Bard, instead of being scared, looked impressed. He stared at the man with wide eyes. "Whoa, that's deep, bro," Bard said. "So this potato chip has a soul too?" He then walked casually toward the man. "So, who are you, Mr. Rock Philosopher Guy?" The stranger was silent for a moment, an eyebrow slightly raised at Bard's behavior. "Julian," he answered, "and the soul of that rock just showed you the right path." Julian walked past us, back into the tunnel where Bard had found the potato chip rock. He pressed the rock. There was a mechanical grinding sound, and a section of the concrete wall in front of us slid aside, revealing a rusty, dimly lit gate. Beyond it, we could hear the muffled hum of a bustling market. We were in awe. Julian turned to us, but he didn't step through the gate. His face was serious, without a smile. "Beyond this point, you walk alone," he said. "Just one last piece of advice. Don't touch anything you're not willing to pay for." He looked at us one more time, his gaze seeming to linger for a split second longer on Bard. Then, he turned and silently vanished back into the darkness of the tunnel he came from, leaving the three of us at the gates of this collector's hell. Silence enveloped us for a moment, broken only by the hum from beyond the gate. "See," Ethan said, "I told you I knew there was a secret passage around here." Bard, in his own world, just stared at the gate in amazement. "Whoa," he whispered. "It's like a video game." Ethan pushed the rusty gate. Its hinges screamed in protest. Dim light and a strange smell, a mix of incense, dust, and metal, washed over us. I felt like we weren't just entering a market. We were stepping into the very bowels of the earth. There, amidst the strange crowd and the mysterious whispers, I felt it. A fear I had never felt before. The Sump Market spread out before us, a living, forbidden gallery. The stares of its strange inhabitants felt like needles piercing my skin. Ethan, seemingly ignoring all of it, stopped us in the middle of the market, pulled out his old map, and shined his flashlight on it. In an instant, the hum of the market around us stopped. Total silence. Dozens of pairs of eyes were now locked on us, on the map in Ethan's hand. Before Ethan could even realize his mistake, a large, metal-masked figure snatched the map from his hand and crushed it. Other robed figures began to move in unison, pulling heavy weapons, axes, hammers, pipes, from beneath their robes. In the silence, a palpable hunger was visible in them. They slowly walked forward, surrounding us from all sides. Bard, trembling beside me, accidentally dropped his flashlight. "Run!" Ethan screamed, his voice cracking with panic. Chaos erupted. We pushed and broke through the crowd, running blindly. I could only run. My heart felt like it was going to explode. Ethan pulled my arm roughly, while Bard stumbled behind us. At an intersection, Ethan's grip slipped. He veered left. I was shoved to the right. I was alone, separated from them. I kept running, deeper into a dark, unfamiliar corridor, the sounds of our pursuers slowly fading behind me. I found a gap between a stack of crates and slipped inside, hiding myself. Cold concrete pressed against my back. Every fiber of my being was screaming to run, but I can't move. I can only hold my breath, praying this darkness is thick enough to hide me. I heard a single set of footsteps and a heavy, dragging sound. One of them. He was sweeping the area. That sound. It was getting closer. I swear I could smell it. The smell of damp earth, metal, and rot. My heart stopped beating. This was it. The creature knew I was here. The dragging sound stopped, right in front of my hiding spot. Total silence. I shut my eyes tight, waiting for my fate. After a silence that felt like an eternity, I heard the dragging sound again. This time, moving away. Slowly, it faded into the echo of the tunnels. I don't know why it missed me. I waited for a few minutes that felt like an hour before finally daring to move. I have to find Ethan and Bard. With the quietest steps possible, I came out of my hiding spot and crept through the suffocating corridors. Finally, in a narrow hallway, I saw them and hurried over. Ethan was yelling at Bard. "This is all your fault," Ethan screamed. "If you hadn't dropped that stupid flashlight." I didn't mean to," Bard said, his face pale and innocent. "Stop it, Ethan," I yelled. "Your fighting will just bring them back. This is your fault. Your map is what made us a target." Ethan's rage exploded. He shoved my shoulder to the side, and I stumbled against the wall. "Stay out of this, Lucy." He lunged at Bard again, shoving him back violently until Bard's back hit the concrete wall at the end of the dead-end corridor. He dragged Bard, cornering him in the dark. I saw Ethan's face. This was no longer the man I loved. His eyes were wild, filled with a blind rage. He had lost control. Ethan looked down, picking up a fist-sized rock from the broken floor. He squeezed it with all his might, his knuckles turning red. I could only cry, my voice trembling. "Stop it, Ethan. Please, stop. He's your friend." Ethan raised the rock, ready to smash it into Bard, who was just standing there silently. But as his hand swung forward, Bard wasn't there. He just vanished. The rock hit the concrete wall hard, right where Bard's head had been seconds before. Ethan was stunned, staring at the empty wall in disbelief, breathing heavily. That's when we heard it. Bard's muffled voice from behind the wall. It sounded cheerful and amazed. "Whoa, guys, you gotta see this. It's like a secret bonus level. So awesome." A section of the concrete wall where Bard had been standing slid inwards, revealing a narrow opening. Inside, Bard stood in a quiet, dusty room, looking at us with a dumb grin on his face. Behind him, in the center of the room, stood a bronze statue. The sounds of our pursuers were now getting closer in the corridor. With no other choice, a still-shocked Ethan and I quickly slipped through the opening. The stone door slid shut behind us on its own. We were now inside the statue room, in silence. Safe for now. My breath was still ragged, but for the first time after running for so long, I could feel a sliver of relief. We had escaped the cultists. In the center of the room, on a stone altar, stood the bronze statue. The light from our flashlights made it glitter. Ethan was the first to recover from the panic. His face beamed with triumph. "I did it," he whispered, more to himself than to us. See? I did it. We're going to be rich, Lucy. We're going to start a new life. He walked toward the statue with a swagger, as if all the chaos outside had been part of his plan. I could only stare at him, a mixture of doubt and disgust starting to churn in my heart. He reached out his hand and touched the cold surface of the bronze statue. That's when the real hell began. The floor beneath the statue opened with a loud mechanical groan, and the statue disappeared, swallowed down into the room. A grinding sound came from all around. The stone walls of the room slowly began to move, shrinking, threatening to crush us. No, no! Ethan screamed in panic. As Bard and I frantically searched for an exit from the shrinking room, a hidden door on the other side slid open, revealing a dark corridor. It wasn't an exit for us. It was an exit for him. Without a single word, Ethan ran for the door. He looked at me one last time, with a gaze that was no longer love, but the cold look of a businessman closing a deal. He disappeared into the darkness. From the darkness where Ethan had vanished, the patriarch emerged. He was huge, his face was ruined, and he walked with a terrifying aura of power. He didn't step inside. He stood at the threshold, looking at Bard and me, trapped in the shrinking room like specimens in a jar. I stared at him, confused and terrified, then screamed, "Where's Ethan? What did you do to him?" The patriarch smiled, a sight more horrifying than any rage. "Ethan?" he said, his voice calm and heavy. "Oh, that one. He just completed his transaction." He glanced at us, trapped between the moving walls. "You see, that brave friend of yours, he's a pathetic gambler. He made a bet with me using something he didn't have, and he lost." "A bet? What is this guy talking about?" I thought. "The price was his life," the patriarch continued, "but I gave him an option. A special offer. His life, in exchange for a life." He spread his arms as if welcoming us, and here you are. The newly acquired assets, the payment for his debt. My world shattered. The shrinking walls felt like nothing compared to the pain of that betrayal. As I froze, paralyzed by those words, it was Bard who moved. He no longer looked like a fool. He looked like a cornered animal. He ran along the walls, feeling them, hitting them, searching for a way out in pure desperation. As he stumbled and fell against one wall, his hand accidentally pressed a loose rock with a strange shape, just like the one we had found before. There was a mechanical sound, another way out. A narrow tunnel opened in the wall beside us. The patriarch, furious that his payment had found an escape, now moved forward. He lunged toward me, the one closest to the new exit. But Bard was faster. He lunged forward and shoved me hard toward the tunnel. "Go, Lucy, now!" I fell into the tunnel, and as I turned back, I saw the patriarch about to attack Bard. I could only cry, screaming his name from the threshold of the exit. "Bard, no! Come with me!" Bard didn't look back. The patriarch slammed him to the ground and grabbed his leg. But Bard braced one hand on the floor, spun his body, and agilely kicked the large figure's forearm until his grip was released. The patriarch attacked again with both hands. Bard darted underneath him, trying to grapple the huge body but failing. The large figure looked powerful. The patriarch managed to grab both of Bard's legs, lifting him up, making him look limp and helpless. But with his last ounce of strength, Bard pressed his body down to the floor with a steady swing and pushed up with his legs, using the momentum to topple the unbalanced patriarch. His legs were free. He ran with a slight limp, not toward me, but to the center of the room, to the hole where the statue had disappeared. He slammed a mechanism inside it with all his might. Suddenly, the entire room began to shake violently. Rocks began to fall from the ceiling. Bard ran, limping, toward the door where I was waiting. He pushed me out with him just in time. Behind us, I heard the patriarch rise, roaring amidst the collapsing room. I didn't dare look back. We just kept moving forward in the narrow sewer pipe, crawling, dragging our wounded bodies across the slick, cold floor. Every movement was agony. We were at our absolute limit. That's when we heard it. An echo. The echo of Ethan's terrifying scream, coming from the distance deep within the sump, reverberating through the corridors before finally fading into silence. We said nothing. We just kept moving forward in the darkness. The debt had been paid. Then, at the end of the darkness, I saw it. A light. So small, just a pinprick, but it was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. Hope. Closer, I began to hear sounds I had almost forgotten. The distant sound of a car horn, a faint siren, the footsteps of people above us, the sounds of the normal world. The end of the tunnel was a steel ladder leading up. We climbed, using the last of our remaining strength, pushing against a heavy manhole cover. With one final shove, it shifted. The cold, fresh air of Meridian City hit our faces. We were out. We were in a narrow alley behind a building. I looked up at the overcast sky, feeling the drizzle on my face. I saw Bard, lying on the wet asphalt beside me, giving a weak smile. We made it. I tried to smile back, but my vision started to blur. The sounds of the city slowly faded, until everything went silent. Total darkness. It felt like my last breath. I woke up to the blinding light of a fluorescent lamp and the smell of antiseptic. I was in a hospital. An IV was stuck in my hand. Bard! Where was Bard? He was just with me. I ripped the IV out, ignoring the pain. I ran out of my room, the hospital gown feeling thin and cold. Bard! I called out in the quiet corridor. Bard, where are you? A doctor tried to stop me, telling me to go back to my room. I grabbed his arm. Where's Bard? Where is he? I asked frantically. The doctor's face was full of pity. Miss Clark, Mr. Lohman is gone. He only left this for you, without a single word. He handed me two things: a neatly folded letter and a strange, flat rock, the potato chip rock. I went back to my room, my hands trembling as I opened the letter. The handwriting was neat, a stark contrast to the clumsy figure I had always known. Lucy, I'm back in the city of Port Adams this morning. There are some things you need to know. My work as an archaeologist for the National Antiquities Institute led me to the trail of a dangerous organization, a group calling themselves the Sump Collectors. They steal and trade cursed artifacts. Their trail led me back to Meridian City. Our data showed Ethan as one of their low-level contacts. When I knew he was going to take you into their nest, I had no choice but to come along. My disguise as the old bard was the only way I could get inside without compromising the mission or you. When I knew you were in danger, this was no longer just a mission. It became personal. I still remember my promise when we were kids in St. Jude's Park, to always look out for you. I have to go now. This fight isn't over. The patriarch may have escaped, but his organization is still out there and must be stopped. Take care of yourself, Lucy. Live. That is our greatest victory. I will come home to Meridian City in 3 more years. Warm regards, Bard Lohman. I sat down on the cold hospital floor. The letter fell from my trembling hands. I hugged the potato chip rock tightly to my chest, and I cried. Not tears of relief for having survived, not tears of sadness for what I had lost, but the tears of a woman who had just realized that her true hero, the smartest and strongest man she had ever known, was the person who had been by her side all along, yet she had always taken for granted. A week later, I stood in St. Jude's Park, in front of the old wishing tree in the center of Meridian City. Its branches were filled with thousands of colorful ribbons, each carrying the hopes and dreams of the entire city. I watched the people around me. A mother smiled as she tied a hope for her child. A young couple laughed as they wrote their names on a branch. I might have been jealous once, but now I felt the same as them. I had my own hope. In my hand, I held a few folded sheets of paper, my story. But this was no longer a story of terror. This was the story of how I found a true hero in the most unexpected of places. I'm waiting for you to come home, Bard Lohman. The next morning, for the first time in a long time, I woke up without fear. I felt light. I felt hopeful. The morning sunlight felt warm on my face as I walked out of my apartment building to get coffee. I was used to checking my mailbox first. Among some bills, there was a small, dark object. My heart felt like it stopped when I pulled it out. This, a worn leather bracelet. His name escaped my lips before I realized it. A whisper full of shock. Ethan? Suddenly, the warm feeling of the morning sun vanished, replaced by a piercing cold, the feeling of being watched. I immediately lifted my head, my eyes scanning the busy street across from me. In a dark street corner, across the way, a man in a black hoodie stood silently in the shadows of an alley. His face was not visible. He just stood there, staring straight at me. A city bus passed between us, its loud noise breaking the silence. Just for 2 seconds. When the bus was gone, the street corner was empty. He had vanished. My body trembled. Could it be him?